Pixar's Soul getting a re-release soon this month, I thought it'd be worth getting a little bit into the Pixar mood, and there's actually been a hint of movie news in the form of an interesting trivia fact. Because you see, Toy Story 3 has the most iconic animated ending to any movie. Is that fair to say? I think that's probably one of the best there has ever been in the animation genre, and I think maybe even started the full-on trend of Pixar movies make you cry. It is brilliant storytelling, it's lovely to have a film with such emotional weight, and it almost kind of makes every movie I've seen since seem worse because they don't reach those kind of proper grasp your heart kind of storytelling. Or at least that's how I feel. I'm very passionate about Toy Story 3, as much as I do like to defend Toy Story 4 as well. However, it turns out this most iconic moment from the entire Toy Story saga, which already is saying something, was originally intended to be entirely different. Movies, of course, go through all sorts of drafts. There have been all sorts of alternative endings to probably every movie that exists. But Toy Story 3's alternate ending is one that has a massively different tone, and I'm so glad we're on the timeline that didn't just repeat things of the past in the future. Because you see, of course, we know the story as being that Andy gives away his toys to Bonnie, officially saying goodbye to the toys and reaching a new sort of cycle for them, addressing how toys actually end their life cycle. You know, of course you're going to talk about the end. That movie did come out like 10 years later. Okay, maybe 8, but you get the idea. No, that was 10. It was 10. Gosh. But no, in the initial draft of the movie, most of the same details were the same all the way up to the incinerator room, whereby they knew that the toys were going to go into the burning furnace, right? Or some kind of grinder or something like that. It was meant to address this is how toys in the real world actually reach their end. They actually wrote that scene and didn't know how to save them at first because they just knew this is the bottom part. They need to find some Deus Ex Machina in the future. The way they resolve this is in very classic Pixar fashion, and honestly just any storytelling fashion in general. They went to go visit an incinerator, waste area themselves in person. That's where they learned about the magnetic strip on the roof. That is a real thing they use in garbage disposal. I mean, is that a surprise? Real details in animation are probably real details in real life. Spider-Man is real somewhere. But yes, it is when they went to this big pit of fiery death that they then learned that there is a giant claw. And apparently the moment they saw that, they knew that was going to be the Deus Ex Machina. It even lines up with the alien saying the claw. Of course, it all writes itself. What doesn't write itself is what happens afterwards. How and why do they go from the trash compactor over to Andy again? They've already been abandoned by Andy in the first place, potentially being shoved up to the attic. Well, while we know it as being that they do end up getting home and then being sent away on a box, even that box reaching the outside didn't happen in the initial draft, because initially it was all focused on the race back to Andy's rather than what Andy does afterwards, being far more comedic and far less emotional. And so in the initial third draft, apparently, in the third act of the film, they come to learn that Andy is leaving for college in like 10 minutes, and they need to speed through as fast as possible to get back to him. So they then turn around to their side and realize that they're actually right next to Al's toy barn, like Sunnyside is near Al's toy barn. All as one big reference to Toy Story 2, and I guess trying to wrap up the whole trilogy or something. And so they go into Al's toy barn. Already, to me, this kind of sounds like fan fiction, but sure, we'll go with it. And they get a bunch of radio-controlled vehicles. There's a radio-controlled car, a radio-controlled motorcycle, and a radio-controlled airplane. A little bit esoteric, but hey, I mean, I guess there's a lot of toys. You do need a lot of vehicles. Sure. Welcome to the halfway mark. If you're interested in hearing more trivia facts, let me know, come subscribe, or send me other facts. I'd love to do this, maybe more routinely, of retrospective, under-the-surface news about movies that we don't know about. Finding Nemo had a whole other sequel at one point. We made a video about it once. Check it out. Anyway, back to the main video. Thanks for making it this far in. And they are to use these toys in order to get back to Andy's house in time. Very lucky these toys just come with batteries, and why aren't they alive? That's another question, but don't worry about it. But then, as they all try to take off, they immediately end up colliding with each other and then resuming. Because the whole beat of this scene is that they get back on their vehicles, they head off, and they come to realize that retroactively, they've all grabbed the remote to the wrong vehicles they are on. The people on the motorcycle are controlling the car, the people in the car are controlling the airplane, and the people in the airplane are controlling the damn motorcycle. And so what this ends up being is a kind of comedic sprint, they describe it, in which they're trying to beat this incredible 10-minute timer, all the while flailing around in every which direction in a complete mess of what would be probably some interesting choreography, but very much not, quietly giving away toys to a little girl. Additionally to the fact that there's a ticking clock of Andy leaving the college, there's also the whole thing about the batteries, where the motorbike apparently runs out of batteries, so they hop onto the car, and then the car runs out of batteries, so they all hop onto the plane. But if they can all fit on the plane, why didn't they all get on the plane in the first place? Who knows? There was some obviously hurdles, it was an early draft. And then the climax of the movie would be that they're all on the plane, and they just about slide through the window into Andy's room. They go smashing into Andy's bedroom just as he's walking up the stairs, and he finds the toys and packs them all away. No longer just putting them in a box or in a bin bag to go up into the attic, but Andy has a complete change of heart and takes all of his toys over to college, completely abandoning what would become the later theme of the whole saga of learning to grow up from your toys and leaving them behind. No, in this version, he just takes them all to the college. The ending of Toy Story 1 is being on an RC car, but this one's alive to catch up to a moving truck, or again, flying as a plane over to get into the car. Toy Story 2 has the running on horseback to chase after a little cart, or driving said cart to get to the house. And even Toy Story 4, again, has sort of a race to the finish to get to the caravan, huh? Toy Story loves their races to get back to the end, huh? Man, maybe Toy Story 4 did need a better ending, because this unique ending here, just sitting down and getting right to the core, right to the emotional beats, was clearly the correct choice they needed to make. The Owl's Toy Barn reference to Toy Story 2 seemed a little bit crass, This isn't a Warner Brothers movie. Whilst the questions about the logistics of the choreography, the battery element, the pacing, the spacing, and also the fact that those vehicles presumably aren't awake is a whole other problem that I would probably want rewritten if I was to watch that the first time. And the fact that in the original draft they just go from Sunnyside over to Andy's room is far less impactful when you compare it to the other emotional highlight, or I guess pit, of that damn incinerator scene. And the betrayal with the villain, and all sorts of things in the middle. I think hearing about this alternate ending makes me not only adore the real ending to Toy Story 3 more, but kind of makes me dislike the ending to Toy Story 4 a little, because at the end of the day, it kind of went back on the old school classic ending, whilst also, I guess, repeating the Toy Story 3 ending, since at least Woody abandons everybody. I don't know, it's an interesting one. At the very least, I thought that was a really interesting factoid to learn about Pixar movies, and if I ever watch Toy Story 3 again with people, I'm gonna mention it like a trivia fact, similarly to Lord of the Rings and that damn broken foot. But hey, there's a little piece of movie news that we recently found out. And soon enough, maybe we'll learn about other retrospective details about more newer movies, like, hey, Pixar Soul, coming out this month. Again, re-released, fully theatrical release and everything. In the meantime, I'm gonna look up some other retroactive, crazy, secret trivia facts about maybe early Pixar movies. We'll see, I could easily talk about these all day. And maybe I'll try and dig right deep to find all sorts of details next time from multiple movies. I don't know, I just love talking about movies, man. It's just what I like to do. I just really like talking about it. For now, though, I'll end it off here. My name's been Daz. Do you know any other trivia about Pixar movies or even DreamWorks stuff? Animated factoids and trivia? I'd love to hear some. I don't know, I like facts. I'm terrible at trivia games, but I've got a handful of movie ones in my head. You didn't really care, and I'll see you in a little bit.